Hello and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We are broadcasting live from Abuja. I am Tesi Omiri. Let's begin with the headlines. President Buhari unveils strategy document for accelerated reduction in poverty
situation in the country. I am very confident that this team can deliver on our promise.
FCT High Court sentences former Chairman House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee on Subsidy Regime to 7 years in custodial center. NNPC engages stakeholders to curb trans-border smuggling of petroleum products.
A lot of this product is fraudulently diverted and sent out of, smuggled out of Nigeria.
Senate endorses appointment of Major General Farouk Yahaya as Chief of Army Staff. Now details. A 17-member steering committee of the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy has been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari. The committee, chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, is to anchor collaborative efforts that will enhance the attainment of government objectives of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. The president also unveiled a strategy document for accelerated reduction in poverty through economic growth, redistributive programs and shared prosperity. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has details.
The performance of our economy despite COVID-19 gives me comfort that we can achieve our goal.
President Muhammadu Buhari is optimistic that if India can lift 271 million people out of poverty between 2006 and 2016, 100 million Nigerians can surely be taken out of poverty in 10 years. He said, fortunately, that process has already started, but government needs to, amongst others, tackle the challenges of slow implementation, inappropriate targeting, and absence of adequate resources, as well as scale up and work more with states and local governments.
The major challenge before the National Steering Committee is to translate our good intention into positive impact of every Nigerian so that we create an appreciative impact on the poverty situation in the country. I am very confident that this team can deliver on our promise. I hereby charge you to commence work immediately so that the technical working group will also begin putting the nuts and bolts together.
The steering committee has, amongst other responsibilities, of effectively guiding the technical working group towards the establishment of the proposed Nigeria Investment and Growth Fund, a private equity fund that will lead the resource mobilization drive as well as sustainable management of such resources. The committee is also expected to scale up existing poverty reduction initiatives and leveraging on the various development partner support programs and projects with potentials for quick wins.
I reiterate my confidence that this committee will be able to lay the foundation and demonstrate within the next 2 years the practicality of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in under 10 years. Nigeria needs to promptly tackle her poverty situation if our economic gains are to be sustained. I wish you well and pray for your success for the good of our dear country, Nigeria.
The National Steering Committee, which has Vice President Yemi Osinbajo as chairman, has secretary to the government of the Federation, chief of staff to the president, 6 governors drawn from each of the geopolitical zones of the country, and 8 ministers as members.
The measure of our success, we know, will lie in our ability to diligently implement our ambitions and the strategy which has been laid out, and the impact that it will have on the lives of the people, the young job seekers, for whom we must provide opportunity, the entrepreneurs who we must assist in growing their businesses on scale, the farmers whose livelihoods we must secure, and the children whose dreams we must make come true.
As we are able to surprise the world with a quick, though fragile, exit from recession in the recent past, it is hoped that the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy will serve not only as a springboard, but also as the template to pull out a massive number of Nigerians out of poverty, as promised by Mr. President.
Highlights of the ceremony was the unveiling of the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy document as a further testimony to the resolve of the Buhari presidency to reduce the number of Nigerians living in poverty. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule has described as false and baseless the rumor of killing of about 1,000 cattle by the military in his state. Speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari, the governor confirmed that the armed forces and people of the state are working harmoniously in the task of maintaining peace and security.
Most of our security challenges that we have at the moment are offshoot of what happens in Benue. Even with these 1,000 cows, it's because of the anti-grazing law that took place in Benue. And so some cows were arrested by the livestock guards, from Benue. That led into some problems that they had with the military. And then, of course, a couple of cows, maybe about 100 of them were shot. So we don't have any problem anymore concerning farmer herder crisis in Nasarawa State. Thank God. We also don't have any problem at the moment when it comes to the ethnics between one ethnic group and the other. In all the 13 local government areas, only 1 or 2 local government areas are still having a few problems, and those are the local government areas that have border with Benue. That is the Kiana and part of Doma.
Similarly, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State described the security situation in the country as a challenge, but not insurmountable.
See Boko Haram insurgency, for instance, driven down and out in the northeast to a point where they're now running helter-skelter and trying to just create distraction. But that has resulted in one form or another in what we're dealing with in the Northwest. So we need to also tackle that. But as leaders, we must be driven by the courage of our conviction. We must go after the criminals. We must ensure that we apprehend them and we ensure they face the maximum wrath of the law. That is what governors are doing. That is what the federal government is pursuing. And we shouldn't let that deter us. It's a complementary process. As we're tackling insecurity, we're also focusing on economic development. And economic development would help us to tackle insecurity because many of the people who are also involved in these opportunistic criminal acts are victims themselves.
Now described as the engine of economic growth, the federal government says it will continue to lend support towards boosting the development of micro, small and medium enterprises in the country. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said this during a visit to 2 enterprises in Abuja as part of activities marking the 2021 Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Week, which will be capped with a National MSME Award Night on Sunday. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in company of Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Adeniyi Adebayo, and the Special Advisor to the President on Economic Matters, Adeyemi Dipelu, was received on arrival at Delke Manufacturing by Loveline Mbanefo and went on a tour of the factory. The Vice President says government will continue to provide needed support to operators of micro, small and medium enterprises and create enabling environment to stimulate domestic investment, accelerate growth, generate employment, and reduce poverty, and thereby transforming the country to a vibrant economy.
So much manufacturing going on, so many people are employed, and so much innovation and creativity. Very, very commendable, very commendable. And the Honourable Minister and I have looked around, and we've seen, the potential and what has been done already. And just as you know, I mean, this is our MSME week. We're looking at star MSMEs here and there, trying to see what they're doing and in what ways we can support them. So we're looking forward to working with them.
I want to make Nigerians know that there's nothing we cannot do.
The Vice President also visited a bookstore at Wuse area of the Federal Capital Territory as part of encouragement and assurance that government is committed to addressing challenges facing the nation's micro, small and medium enterprises. In Abuja, Jude Onifade, NTA News.
In a renewed offensive to curtail trans-border smuggling of petroleum products and reduce the huge cost of subsidy incurred by the federal government, a meeting of critical stakeholders has committed to changing the narrative and making the oil and gas industry in Nigeria better. This is in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's directive to the NNPC to nip trans-border petroleum product smuggling in the bud. Lydia Sampson reports.
Nigeria's daily petroleum consumption has continued to fluctuate between 60 million barrels per day. In May, it rose to an outrageous over 100 million barrels. Key players at this meeting are unanimous that the nation is bleeding from the huge amount spent daily to subsidize products, ironically, not consumed in Nigeria.
Our consumption of petroleum product, daily consumption has become unrealistic, it's unsustainable. And yet a lot of this product is fraudulently diverted and sent out of, smuggled out of Nigeria. We cannot continue to subsidize the whole of Africa and the rest of West Africa, the rest, even part of Central Africa.
Already we have seen significant progress from the height of 102 million liters per month. We are now looking at less than 50 million liters in terms of daily consumption. But we believe that Nigeria, should not be consuming, more than 40 million in a day.
Mr. President was very clear that the Honourable Minister and myself and other stakeholders must control this, including the security agencies. There is no way we can explain this cross-border smuggling. And I believe that this approach will work, and that with the support of all the security agencies, particularly the Department of State Service and the EFCC, will put this under control.
We introduce automation to track products from loading point to receiving point and up to the last mile to ensure that we pay only genuine transactions.
The meeting got the commitment of Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, DSS and Customs Service, as well as Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association, DAPMAN, Major Marketers Association of Nigeria, MOMAN, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Petroleum Tanker Drivers Association, PTD, and the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association. They all agree it is time to stop working in silos and work together for greater success in dealing with the deadly economic crime of product smuggling. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Federal government says it will continue to make positive impact on citizens through open government partnership. Let's join Kunle Adeye for details on business.
The federal government has emphasized that the second national action plan of the Open Government Partnership is driven by the need to make positive impact on the ordinary citizens by identifying and strengthening issues that restrict their effective participation in government, as well as deepen transparency mechanisms. Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, disclosed these at the second quarterly meeting of the OGP thematic working groups in Abuja.
The thematic meeting set up today is just to get the teams to have a better understanding of the various roles of the 7 thematic areas. So it's just for cohesion, for effectiveness, and for efficiency.
A lot of government policies that are being implemented are not being recognized because the citizens were not involved and didn't know what government is doing on their own side. But with the co-creation principles of OGP, citizens are now being intertwined with government in carrying out and implementing these policies.
The National Action Plan has 16 commitments and 7 thematic areas that include fiscal transparency, anti-corruption, and citizens' engagement. With Business News, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
And this is the news at 10. Coming up, first National Mushroom Summit and Exhibition holds in Abuja. Details shortly. We welcome you back on agricultural note. Players in the agricultural value chain are keying into the federal government's initiative aimed at diversifying the economy for revenue generation and boosting of the economy. Already, various agricultural subsectors are engaging for productive participation along the value chains. Bosede Abel in this report tells of the mushroom prospect and opportunities at the first National Summit and Exhibition in Abuja.
As Nigeria is poised to gain from the investment and trade opportunities opened up by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, harnessing opportunities in meaningful value chain activities across board to tap into the African market remains paramount. To this end, mushroom growers are seeking ways to enhance visibility in nutrition through the special plant. It is the first National Mushroom Summit tagged Exploiting the Mushroom Value Chain for Nutrition, Medicine and Exports.
This is where mushroom offers so much hope to contribute significantly to the country's GDP.
Furthermore, it should also stimulate stakeholders to key into government's policies.
Whatever you are doing, you turn it into an enterprise, so that you can generate money from there, create employment.
Research shows that the world mushroom market as of 2020 stood at $45.3 billion, and Nigeria is estimated to account for just 10% of the global mushroom market, valued at $4.53 billion or 1.8 trillion naira. Growers and processors say they are working out modalities that will enhance mushroom cultivation in Nigeria, which they say will serve as an investment opportunity and a tool for sustainable development in the mushroom value chain. It was also an opportunity to showcase a variety of mushroom delicacies.
This summit has really done well in improving the local content of this country.
Oh, it's a wonderful and a timely summit.
We are going viral because we are going international, no longer national, so with time. And all these products you see here, they are locally sourced.
This summit is geared towards lasting network that will advance the cause of mushroom cultivation, processing and marketing for the benefit of Nigerians and the economy. Bosede Abel, NTA News.
Let's take a look at the social media. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the composition of a federal government team to engage with Twitter over the recent suspension of the operations of the micro-blogging and social networking service in Nigeria. The approval was announced in a statement by the Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and Culture, Segun Adeyemi. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed will chair the federal government team, which will also comprise of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Ministers of Communications and Digital Economy, Foreign Affairs, Works and Housing, Labor and Employment, as well as other relevant government agencies, following the indefinite suspension of its operations in Nigeria for activities that are capable of undermining Nigeria's corporate existence. Twitter wrote to President Buhari seeking to engage with the federal government over the suspension. with a view to charting a path forward. Meanwhile, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed says the operations of Twitter in Nigeria remain suspended until it registers with and obtains a license from relevant agencies. The minister, during an investigative hearing at the House of Representatives, explains that the suspension of Twitter is because it has become a national security risk by promoting disunity. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
Made their platform available for separatist groups and people calling for the dismemberment of Nigeria.
Citing several instances to the House Joint Committee investigating the indefinite suspension of the microblogging and social networking site Twitter, in which it became a platform of choice for people and groups promoting activities to destabilize Nigeria, the minister says it's left government with no choice than to suspend its operations. This decision, he adds, is in conformity with local and international laws and conventions on cybersecurity.
To preserve the internal security of Nigerians, it's very instructive that anybody, any platform that threatens the internal security of Nigeria would not be allowed to operate.
He stresses the stance of government not to allow multinationals to trample on Nigeria's sovereignty.
Who is Twitter? Are they a platform, content creator, or are they the judge? We're talking about a sovereign country. Nigeria will not be ruled by the laws of a multinational, no matter how powerful it is.
The Joint Investigative Committee, headed by the Chairman House Committee on Information, Segun Odebumi, was mandated to gather facts on the indefinite suspension of Twitter operations.
The essence of this hearing is to make Nigeria acquainted with reasons for government actions and the subject matter.
I want to appeal to the Honourable Minister that we should go into a negotiation with Twitter to see how this issue can be amicably resolved.
Nigeria first. Let's be honest to ourselves and let's call a spade a spade.
A federal government committee is now in place to engage Twitter, sequel to its request for dialogue. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Senate has confirmed the appointment of Major General Farouk Yahaya as Chief of Army Staff. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports that the Senate has also received the 2021 supplementary budget for consideration.
Returning to the chamber after 2 weeks' break, senators were greeted by a leaking roof at the National Assembly lobby, which attracted attention and caused worries.
I will call on FCDA, I will call on the Federal Executive Council to also take a look at our submissions and do the needful.
But did not deter the legislators from sitting. Plenary took off with President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan reading presidential request for the consideration of the 2021 supplementary budget of 895.8 billion naira to mainly fund the military, COVID-19 vaccines and Nigeria's HIV/AIDS program in the states. That preceded the confirmation of the new Chief of Army Staff with emphasis on collective responsibility in fighting insecurity in Nigeria.
The military alone cannot resolve the security challenges. The military needs the support of each and every single citizen of this country.
Senate passed the National University of Health and Medical Sciences Suleja Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Sani Musa, and the University of Aerospace and Aeronautics Oka Akoko Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Ajayi Borofis, while the Real Estate Regulation Council Bill by Senator Aliu Wamako, the Solid Minerals Producing Areas Development Commission, sponsored by Senator Oseni Yakubu, and the National Pediatric Center Yala Cross River State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Stephen Ode, passed second reading.
The need to establish the proposed National Pediatric Center is amplified by the recent outbreak of strange diseases which have claimed over 250 lives of children in Cross River North.
Senator Frank Ibezim drew the attention of the Senate to the urgent need for the Federal Ministry of Power to construct the Okigwe Power Transmission Substation. Senator Suleiman Abdul Kwari called for critical assessment of the performance of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020.
The Federal Ministry of Power to upgrade the Okigwe Power Facility to a district station.
And the level of implementation of the Central Bank of Nigeria intervention in all sectors.
Senate approved the report of its Committee on Health, which recommended, among other issues, the need to effectively implement the 75% import duties on imported syringes and needles so as to encourage local producers. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Implementing the legislation that prohibits discrimination against persons with disability is the joint responsibility of all. Stakeholders made the submission as the House Committee on Disabilities investigated alleged violation of Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act by Dana Airline. Dayo Ogunshola reports.
Available statistics have shown that over 1 billion persons across the world are living with one form of disabilities. 80% of them are living in developing countries of the world. Therefore, experts have the view that building an inclusive society requires that every form of physical or attitudinal discrimination should be eliminated. Keeping faith with this, the House of Representatives investigated alleged violation of Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Act involving Dana Airline and a passenger.
Whatever presentation or submissions you may make here today will be taken into account and reflected in our recommendations.
It was told Dana Air does not fly persons with disabilities at night. I didn't book night flights. You responded. You rescheduled this flight. The woman on duty insisted that it is their policy.
We want to tell the airlines that are here that enough is enough. We try everything possible to address it through the administrative way, but once it gets out of hand, we, the National Commission, are ready to take any airline to court.
We never discriminate against any of you. We feel your pain, and we don't call you disabled, we call you reduced mobility.
The matter had come up on the floor of the House on 19th May, year 2021, and referred to the Committee for Investigation. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
This is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. More reports after this break.